Now, there are ways in which one correctly drinks a Coca-Cola, and this is what my granddaddy did. Now, I see some of you in the audience, you're squirming. It's like, what is she going to do with that? I'm going to drink it, of course. That's a Southern ladies mixed drink. Looks like a Southern group if I have ever seen one.
Oh, we were just saying, we're having a hard time cutting the meat with the plastic, and I thought if you're eating, we need to bring you a metal knife and fork, because we figured this is probably the only way we could.
Nobody's looking, I won't tell. Now, would you like your name?
Yes.
Brenda.
It's Brenda.
All right, Brenda.
And tell me the basketball team that you're doing this signing.
UNC, women's basketball.
Yeah, I would say.
I was the recipient of a lot of etiquette training growing up from my mother and from my Virginia grandmother, particularly, and of course they had it in their heritage. And so I knew a lot about forks and knives, and I knew which way to pass the bread. I knew to write thank you notes. I knew the kinds of things that we talk about with etiquette now. I just like to share that kind of knowledge because I think it makes people feel at ease. And I don't think anyone should be confounded over forks. I am Cecilia Grimes. I am an etiquette professional. I grew up in a small southern town right in the middle of North Carolina. I have a strong Southern heritage, strong appreciation for Southern heritage, which led me to write a series of books on what it means to be Southern, which I like. I've written 2 others on etiquette. Those are anthologies. My father borrowed $500 from his father and started the tire company. And we're now 3rd generation. We sell new tires, all brands and kinds, and we do retreading. Our largest retread customer is the U.S. Postal Service. We do the tires, the big trucks that they send mail in, the big 22.5s, but we also do all the little scootabouts, those little white U.S. Postal Service little trucks. I've been married for a number of decades to my husband, whom I met at Wake Forest. He was a football player there. He caught my eye. We have 2 sons, 6 grandchildren. A happy life. That's called building the tower. It's automated. And I tell college graduates who are getting ready to go be interviewed, they'll say, well, you know, how do I eat this French onion soup? And I'll say, you don't order it. You order grilled chicken, don't even order little peas. Order something that you can eat.
The girl he's going to marry.
Right. The grandson
is Daniel Meggs, Meggs.
Manners is how you treat people, how you talk to them, how you behave around them, how you interact with them. That's manners, and everybody has them. Etiquette, on the other hand, I think, is knowing how to treat others. And so there are things that you can learn.
Our presenter today is Cecilia Budd Grimes, an author, trainer, speaker, and certified etiquette and protocol consultant.
In an etiquette seminar or an etiquette training session, you're really teaching people the how to make a correct introduction, whose name is said first, and how many times should you shake a hand, and do I really have to put my cell phone down when I'm in an interview? Then we have a second session where we do dining skills, and that's a formal meal, and that's fun. And then the third component of the training is thank you note writing. And that has that is something that's emerged over the last several years. It's just become something that my clients like. I'll tell you the one tip I give my thank you note writers. I'll say, write the note from the perspective of the person who receives it. In order to do this, you need to start the note with either you or your. Dear Ms. Grimes, you or your seminar made me think of a time when I was da-da-da-da-da-da. The trick, of course, is not to offend anybody, because people want to do the right thing. Just sometimes they don't know. And so I tell people, if there's anything I'm telling you here that you missed along the way that will make your life easier, your job better, your promotion sooner, then take it and incorporate it into the fabric of your life. And I promise you, it will make a difference, because people respond to people who are kind.
I had an All-American a few years ago, and at the Final Four dinner, where the All-Americans are up on this stage in front of thousands of people, I noticed that she didn't eat. And so when it was over, I went over, I said, "You didn't eat?" She said, "Coach, there were so many forks and knives, I didn't know which one to pick up." And so right then I said, this will never happen again.
If you call them by their first name, that's all right. Then you can write the note by that. If they are Dr. McGuire, use the honorific doctor.
She's good. I mean, Cecilia was trained by the Washington School of Protocol, and she is very good with the players, and they respect her, and they love the time they spend with her, but more than anything else, just what they learn, because like I said, it gives them a lot of confidence.
And keep this straight. We have tried over the years to bring those athletes to where they are as polished off the court as they are on the court.
Proper etiquette, dining skills, thank you notes. Those little things make a major difference on the road to success, whether it's on the basketball court or just life in general.
So this is sort of our inventory of retreaded tires. Some are highway treads, some are lugs. This is our most popular lug tire, an HMTD right here. You saw where James was pushing that rubber down into the creases, well, there's where it is. See, that's the bottom bond, and there's the tread. I'm just not much more than an administrative assistant. That's how I see myself. But I do like, I do like being there. I have a small desk there. It's not the largest desk there, but I am comfortable doing tires. I am not as knowledgeable as my husband, for instance, but I know tire sizes and I can help people. But I'm a proud owner's daughter. That's what I really am. Two front. All right, I'm just going to look and see what kind of treads you've got on the others in the back.
Okay.
Well, they look pretty good. Although, come here, Liz.
Huh?
Come here just a minute. See right there?
Yes.
See that right there? See, that's flat. I mean, they're wearing even, but see that right there? There's not as much tread right there in the middle.
Oh,
Okay, so you just have to be aware. I tell my students, the hallmark of a well-written thank you note is one that you keep or that you share. I got a note from a participant who said to me that he had not gotten a great deal of education. And I think it was worded in such a way that, he perhaps wished he had. But that after the course, he felt like now that he could eat at the governor's mansion, interact with a person in Congress, that he could correctly, do this and that and so forth, and he didn't know that he could do all of that. And that was wonderful for me to think that he had been able to absorb enough of that information to feel better about himself, to feel empowered. I loved it. I write lots of thank you notes, but I will tell you that was one of the best thank you notes I had ever received. I think etiquette is kindness. I think that what we are needing to do in our society is to be kind. And oftentimes we aren't because we're hustle bustle and we've got deadlines and we've got quotas and all of that. I often feel that when people are not as kind as they should be, they probably haven't had enough happen to them. Because when you start having things happen to you, it changes you. And hopefully it makes you a better person. But I love the idea that Daddy had when he started the business, that it's important work. Because our tires take people to visit their families. Our tires deliver letters from Afghanistan. Our tires deliver Mother's Day notes. Our tires do important work. I like being a part of that. And we like our work. We like that work.
Structure from motion is a 3D modeling technique that uses digital photographs to construct the models. And what it's actually doing is pulling points that kind of repeat in different pictures. At the end of the day, what you actually do have is a 3D model, sort of movable, turnable, three-dimensional digital representation of that artifact. I mean, it's really the next best thing to having it in your hand.
In the late fall of 1936, the eventual leader of UNC's Research Labs of Archaeology was lecturing members of the Natural History Club in Raleigh. There seemed to be a lack of interest in the state's culture prior to the arrival of Europeans. To a student of human culture, he argued, one period of history should be just as important as another. The young Geoffrey Lanning Coe, then only 20 years old, already knew as much about the evolving field of scientific archaeology as anybody in the state, but he still had plenty to learn. Much of it he would learn over the next 50 years on a bluff above the Little River near Mount Gilead, North Carolina. There, a farmer named Lloyd Frucci was having trouble with artifact collectors.
The mound stuck up out of the earth sort of like a sore thumb, especially for a farmer named Lloyd Frucci who owned the land. Every year he would come out to plow his field in preparation to plant, and doing so pulled up new artifacts, beckoning people to come in. They would walk around looking for what they could find and trample his rows. He decided the solution was to essentially bulldoze the mound. If he could tear the mound down, the landmark would be gone and people wouldn't know exactly where to look. Fortunately, Dr. Coe got wind of this plan and was able to talk him out of demolishing it until archaeology could investigate it to see if it was something that was worth saving.
Coe mentioned that when he was first taken to Town Creek, his grandfather drove him down. And he said, the loneliest day of my life was when I saw the plume of dust trailing behind my grandfather's vehicle as he drove up the road going back home, and I was left alone with the cotton field behind me and the dust in front of me.
What began as a camping adventure would grow into a research project spanning nearly 5 decades. Coe's drive to discover more about Native American cultures took him to other sites in the immediate area and across the state, where he developed an approach to archaeology marked by meticulous excavation techniques and sound analysis. In 1964, he published his signature work, a book widely regarded as the cornerstone of archaeology in the southeastern United States. Coe's research enabled him to distinguish between different periods of Native occupation, separated in some cases by thousands of years. Near the end of his life, Coe said it was careful methodology that allowed archaeologists to see prehistoric cultures as more than just a jumbled pile of arrowheads. Prior to that understanding, he said, it was just Indians and us.
Putting it all together, we gradually have lifted ourselves out of the unknown mud, and we don't know. Sometimes we don't think we know very much, but we sure know a lot more than we did back in 1936.
If scientific archaeology gave rise to a nuanced understanding of Native cultures based on data and interpretation, it didn't replace the earlier collector-based approach to Native artifacts overnight. Even as Coe worked at Town Creek, a doctor just down the road in the hamlet of Ellerby was busy becoming one of the most prodigious collectors of his generation.
his collection was so humongous, he just needed a place to keep things, and we had a lot of discussion, and he had a lot of discussion about wanting to share what he had collected. Wherever he may have traveled to, he usually brought something back of some significance, and that's the way the museum got started.
Joffrey Coe and Presley Rankin were contemporaries, close in the same age. They both were native North Carolinians, Coe being born in Greensboro, Rankin being born in Mount Gilead. They were sons of privilege in some ways, but they both had an insatiable curiosity about the past. Coe, on one hand, pursued an academic challenge. Rankin pursued another path. His love of archaeology and geology and wildlife led him to collect things all of his life, oftentimes buying land, clearing trees, collecting the artifacts that were exposed on the surface, or sometimes even buying artifacts that were put up for auction or sale.
He had a keen interest in Native Americans and Native American history. Once he realized that was also an interest that I had, and also that I was full-blooded Native American, he and I just developed a relationship that lasted up until his death. He had some special places in this county and a couple of other counties where other people didn't know that there were artifacts there, and he always wanted to keep that to himself. And we just took a pact many years ago that we just would not talk about a lot of those things, and I still don't talk a lot about it. I'm still very loyal to Doc. He was loyal to me, and I've always been loyal to him.
It's a very difficult subject to address when you talk about collecting versus academic archaeology. Up until the 20th century, the focus of American archaeology was collecting. Both in the end contributed knowledge to the education of people of North Carolina about how these people lived, how they died, and what these artifacts meant.
At Town Creek, Joffrey Coe would invent much of what would become scientific archaeology in the state and train 2 generations of archaeologists. After initial excavations wrapped up in the 1950s, the mound and several structures were carefully recreated exactly where they originally stood. The curious visitors that once trampled a farmer's field are now welcome to explore a village situated much as it would have been 1,000 years ago.